describe the virtual visits, you describe perhaps accessing the specialist. Like maybe that would be in some kind of video capability. Are there other ways in which video might affect the transformation that you're going through?
Well, as a company, we haven't used video conferencing, video technologies as actively as I think we will. Even the current financial crisis, I think, is going to create reasons why we're going to want to use more video capabilities just for the day-to-day work we do at Kaiser Permanente. But going beyond that, and I talked about it in our clinical setting, we have active plans on how we're going to use video technology, everything from home health plans to using it, to in our medical buildings and how we're going to integrate video technology in our medical facilities for the benefit of our members. And then, frankly, when we think about, and really the focus has been on specialty care primarily. When we think about specialists, there just aren't enough of them, and they're never where you want them. There's always a need for a specialist somewhere, and oftentimes there's a specialist in our system who has a time slot open and is just sitting in their office at that moment, somewhere in the country. The fact that we can link that together, link the need and the capability together, and use video technology to make that a real-time interaction and an immediate outcome for one of our members or patients is we think, a fundamental element of delivering on the promise of real-time care. So as we think about video technology, it's becoming increasingly important for us as a way of delivering our vision of healthcare.
We got some guys on our exhibit floor. They're real interested to talk to you about all that stuff. They're damn tedious. But I do want to ask a little bit about, I mean, mention the vendors. You described a vast enterprise. I mean, there's a lot of records. I assume that there's many different vendors that you have to deal with. Over the past couple of days, we've kept hearing phrases like, no vendor can do it all, so you can't rely just on one. But on the other hand, we've had people, such as yourself, in positions say, my preference is kind of for a single supplier because it makes life a little more easy. How do you balance the fact that, or do you agree that no one vendor can do it all? And if you do, do it all, and if you do, how do you balance that with the desire to kind of streamline and be able to get something done quick and effective?
Well, I think any system our size deals with many vendors. Right. That's just a characteristic of who we are, being as large as we are, and I think we always will. I also don't think it's, from our perspective, there are two comments I'd make. One is, as a not-for-profit, we have an obligation to open it up to a competitive bidding process, which we do in almost, I would say almost in every regard when it comes to looking for capabilities, including technology capabilities. But the second comment is that you have to spread your risk. And while vendors, the larger vendors in particular, are going to be here for a while, I believe, I also believe that you have to spread your risk, and risk manifests itself in a number of forms. It's not just financial risk of a vendor being around. It's a particular vendor being able to or not being able to deliver for you in a particular instance at a particular point in time, and then it's capability risk and so on. So for us, we do spread our risk across a fair portfolio of vendors. That said, it's my opinion that we've done that too broadly as a company historically, and we're beginning to slowly narrow the focus down to 2 or 3 key vendors in each category.
Final question. My guess is it comes up from one of your policyholders or customers here. You described the vast amount of data that you're collecting. And how can your customers be comfortable that there'll be appropriate firewalls and partitions between how that data is used among the various piece parts of Kaiser?
That's a really important question, and I'll give you the pat answer for it, and I'll give you a little longer answer for it. Okay. The pat answer for it, in this country, obviously everyone knows that we have privacy laws, and like any other company, we take those very seriously. And we're doing everything we can to comply with all the privacy laws around your personal information, both your health information, credit card information, and so on. Those, like any other large company, we have all the typical capabilities that are focused on doing that, from encryption to firewalling and so on. The longer answer to this is, and I think I'll suggest it this way, where you should be more concerned is when health information is out in the ether, not in a single company. Because you have companies that are popping up, and we're working with some of them as well, and we know, and we're working very hard with them on maintaining the privacy of your information. Because our concern, just like yours, is if we take your personal information that you direct to go to a third party, now it's the third party who has an obligation to protect your information. We worry immensely about that. We want to make sure they're working with our standards, they're living up to our expectations. So we really want to go through the process of almost certifying some of those third parties to ensure that you're protected at Kaiser, and you're also protected if you choose to put your information in some of the third-party health systems, like HealthVault from Microsoft. Not to be a commercial for them, but we're certainly working with Microsoft and have that announced. It's a piece of public information. So I'd be more concerned in that space because that's emerging. That said, every company has security breaches. You read about them constantly. There's always the information showing up on the internet around people's credit card information. Our medical record system is separate from our claims system, and our medical record system, where our physicians actually make their notes, is extraordinarily well protected, beyond what most people would ever consider doing. We've gone to extremes to make sure that information is correctly maintained and really protected. Our claims information is equally well protected. Claims information you can infer about an encounter, but it isn't actually a physician's notes to get to the real detail, and I know no one would want physician notes shared in any way. So we protect that. We don't even make your physician notes available to these third-party systems I talk about. We actually make claims information available in those relationships. So
nobody can read those physician notes anyway. Even the nurses. Well, all right. We've run out of time. I think we kind of have come full circle. As I said, over the past couple days, we talked